Hey folks, this episode of the podcast is brought to you by Urban Lounge, located at 241 South, 500 East in downtown Salt Lake City. Go to theurbanloungeslc.com to find out about all of the bands playing there very soon.
Showcasing local talent, professionals, and everyday people making Salt Lake City what it is today. It's time for another episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast.
Hey everybody, I want to give you a big warm welcome to episode 109 of the I Am Salt Lake podcast. My name's Chris Hollifield. Welcome to my show. Welcome to the podcast all about Salt Lake City. IamSaltLake.com is a website. Head on over there for links for iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Mediocre Radio Network, as well as all the previous 108 episodes of this podcast. You can download them, stream them right there online. Check them out. I've talked to a lot of really cool people here in the city, a lot of really cool things going on, and I'm just trying to showcase that through the podcast. And I want to thank all of you for sharing any of your favorite episodes that you've shared with your family and friends. It really means a lot to me that you guys are enjoying the podcast as much as I'm enjoying putting it out there. So anyways, this episode, I sat down with Brian Higgins. He's from Salt Lake City here. He's involved with quite a few different film festivals, including the Demon Chaser Film Challenge going on this upcoming Wednesday, October 19th at the Tower Theater located right at 9th and 9th in Salt Lake City. It starts at 7 p.m. I'm going to put all the links for the Facebook, the website, all right there at iamsaltlake.com/109. That way you can get in touch with Brian if you want to volunteer for this film festival or any future film festivals, and let him know you heard him on the I Am Salt Lake podcast. So without any more rambling on my end, thank you so much for listening. Join me now as I talk to Brian Higgins about all the different film festivals that he's involved in here in Salt Lake City.
Hey, I'm Brian Higgins. I'm originally from Northern Ireland. I've always been interested in, any way that I can use creativity to help people, whether I'm helping people or helping the environment. That's what I like to do. And I find that, finding different ways that people can tell their stories through narrative storytelling, to look at things from a different perspective, it helps people. So I run a lot of film festivals around town. It's all independent stuff. And it's all genre based. So my main one that's coming up at the moment is the Demon Chaser Film Challenge, which is all based around horror, mostly because Halloween, everybody wants to see horror films. I also have an action festival, a sci-fi festival, a music video festival, and I have recently started a nonprofit called Create Real Change that's all about mental health through creativity, mostly around film work.
So you're a pretty busy guy. You keep yourself pretty involved in the film community.
Yep.
And what's going on with that. And you also do a podcast as well. What's the name of the podcast?
It's Hamicus.
Okay.
Which is, if you're aware of old British horror film. So you got Hammer and Amicus were the two big studios. So I looked at Hammer and Amicus and made Hamicus. So I cover all aspects of British film on that. So
awesome. And we'll get into that. I want to kind of, jump into that here in just a second, as well as your film festivals and film in general. But why don't we kind of, start there? Like, what got you even interested in film? Like, where did that interest even stem from?
Well, that's going way, way back. If you're aware of Northern Ireland and the IRA and the troubles there, the terrorist aspect, being raised in that community and being basically a target based on my religion, and my dad was actually in the police, so we had a lot of trouble stemming from that. And I've always looked and wondered where my obsession, basically, an obsession passion for film comes from. And as far as I can tell, it all stems from that I would use it as escapism, from all the troubles and the killings and bombings that were going on around me. I was able to set the alarm at 2 a.m. when we only had 2 channels back in the days, and then and they would show the old horror films in the middle of the night, and I would set my alarm and get up and eat cookies and milk.
And how old were you at this time? I mean,
probably around about 10 or so.
10 or so. So when did you come to Utah then?
Well, I came to Utah 5 years ago.
Okay,
and I've been in America 10 years. It was actually my 10-year anniversary last Saturday.
Oh wow! So well, congratulations! Yeah. So where did you come to first when you came to the U.S.? Boston, and then you found your way to Salt Lake City, or?
Yep. So I was an architect. When I say I was an architect, my architectural skills haven't just left me, but the economy has changed. So there's not much call for my conceptual work that I do in architecture. So when I originally was working throughout Europe and throughout the UK, and then I came over to Boston to bring my creative style. If people talk about a Google office with slides and fireman's poles and scooters and stuff, that was my style of architecture. It was very much interior commercials. So I started doing that quite well and winning a few design awards and things like that. And then the guys in Salt Lake heard of me and they gave me an offer that I couldn't refuse.
An architecture
yeah, well,
office.
It was more on the, like, in, if you know, cubicles. Like, I call them cubicles, people understand, but like more, high-end office equipment, office furniture. So my niche market was very much into the, forward-thinking corporations and companies. How can I make people work better together rather than being in a cubicle farm, 6x6, high walls? How can I use that as design concepts, to make people collaborate and communicate better?
So when was the first film festival? Did you do film festivals at all before you came to Salt Lake? Did you do them in Boston or Ireland? Or as a participant.
Yeah,
Let's start there. Let's start there.
Because I always wanted to do film, back home, but there was
in Ireland. Yeah.
But there was no industry, and none of my mates were interested. Nowadays you can go on Craigslist and say, I'm making a film this at the weekend, who wants to come, and then you'll get a load of people. But back home, it was just me. So I had no outlet for that. So I started doing stop motion animation, little plasticine models and things like that, like the old Ray Harryhausen stuff, because I could make, whatever I wanted. I could tell my stories.
You were in control of it.
Yeah. And I didn't need all these other people. I just had this my desk was my studio. And then I progressed into CGI, when it was very much the start of CGI. And I started doing that. And that's actually how I got into architecture, because I could animate. Like, I could make a 3D building and I could animate people walking around the space. So that's how I got in. Like, I'm not a qualified architect. It was all conceptual.
Well, we won't
stuff.
tell anybody that.
Well, all my stuff, it was all conceptual, and then somebody else had to actually make the thing happen. So when I drew my initial plans, none of my initial plans ever got installed, but it was so, and that's where I see was worked well for me, because I wasn't doing it by the book. If I'd been trained, I would have done it. This is how we have to do it. But I was just making it up as I went along. So it was showing like a different concepts and thinking outside the box. So,
I got you.
So, that's where I started doing well there. And, I sort of left film behind at that point. And,
because the architecture was kind of consuming so much of your life. Is that pretty much?
Yeah. And it was more, and I was young and stuff, and I was looking at, beer.
Well, you still look pretty young.
Well, I'm getting old, getting on in the years now. But I was younger. And at that point, I was sort of focusing on girls and beer at the time. So, so then I come to Boston, and there was, I had no friends. I came with a suitcase and $280 in my pocket.
Wow.
And, I was very disappointed when I found the streets weren't actually paved with gold. But when I got over the heartbreak of that,
And this was your first time ever to the United States at this time. You never visited or anything.
No, first time. And,
was it everything you imagined?
It was hard. It was really hard. But again, I was at the point that Northern Ireland didn't have anything to offer me anymore.
Was that tough though, to leave your family behind? Not
really, because we weren't a very close family because of the troubles. We had a very much of an aspect that we had to, look after yourself, and keep your own, like a lot of hypervigilance and, protection of your own. So we weren't a very close family. So I really miss my family. I really miss my dad now. I would give anything to have him here now, because now I've got.
Has he visited you? Have they come and visited here in the States?
Yeah. So I got married and divorced now, but we had a baby, and so they came to see the baby and stuff like that. And I went home a couple of months ago for the first time in 8 years. It's a hard aspect to talk about, because I don't mind talking about it, to communicate about it, but for people to understand.
I could imagine. I moved across the United States from Utah to Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And that was tough, and that's 3,000 miles away. I couldn't imagine moving to a new country and knowing nobody. That must have been scary.
It was, I probably couldn't do it now. I couldn't do it again now, but I was young. And
that's how I feel. And sometimes I just want to pick up and move, and I'm just like, I'm not young and crazy like I used to be.
Because you're prepared when you're young, you're prepared to to stay in a hovel or whatever, or share a room with like 10 people.
So you were staying in hostels and whatnot.
Yeah, well, it was through there was the Irish consulate, and we were able to, they put us with some people to get on my feet till I could get a job and stuff like that. So in a way to meet friends, I didn't know, you can go to the pub and you can have friends for the night, but
drinking buddies.
Yeah, but they're not really good. You can't really get good.
How is the beer here compared to Ireland? Is the beer better?
Terrible.
It's probably so much better over in Ireland.
Oh, of course, yeah. Especially Guinness, because all Guinness is all brewed in one place. It's only brewed in Dublin. There's no other breweries. So every Guinness that you drink has travelled all the way over from Ireland. And people have no clue how to pour a proper pint of Guinness here. So it's
probably, especially in Utah, Boston's a little bit better.
Well, they still don't know how to do it. And I used to get into trouble by, telling the barman or the bar ladies, I'll show you how to do that properly.
And what would they say? What they would get insulted?
We can't all be from Ireland. I'd say. But I do miss a good pint of Guinness back home. But so in order to meet people, I thought, well, I need to be in a place, because again, Boston's a very transient population because everyone's there for school, and I would be meeting a lot of people, and they graduate and they would move away. So I would develop friendships, and then they'd all be gone, and I'd have to start from scratch again. So I decided I would take an acting class, because I would be with a group of people for at least 8 to 10 weeks, and we would be always there and developing a little stage play or a film or something, but I would have a genuine level of being able to develop friendships. And there was the film festival. It was called the 48-Hour Film Festival, and basically you make a film in 48 hours. And then they're all screened. You pick a genre out of the hat. So it's action, adventure, comedy, drama, western, musical. Pick that out on Friday night. Go away off, make your film. And then they're screened in the cinemas that week. So as an acting class, we all decided to go and enter this thing. And then I did it every year. And I did it sometimes I would do it by myself. And I would act as all the characters, just set the camera up with the tripod, do everything myself. Like I did it 1 year animated. And that was one of the worst decisions I ever made. And then other years I would have lots of people, whatever. So I did that for 5 years. And then when I came to Utah, the festival knew about me, and they gave me so now I run the whole festival.
The 48-hour film festival. Yeah. And that's the very first film festival that you've run, correct?
That's the first one that I've run, yeah.
So what you might have mentioned in the beginning, what brought you to Salt Lake? Just job or? Yeah,
through the architecture, the guys.
Through the architecture.
The fellas here.
Because Salt Lake City must have been a huge culture shock.
Yeah, it was pretty rough.
Salt Lake City's it's different than any other city.
Oh yeah, it was pretty terrible, and I never thought in my wildest dreams how bad it would affect me. And so I came with my wife, and I was with the company for 12 years, and so it was a satellite version of the company that I now was working for, and they fired me after 6 months.
Oh, geez,
because I couldn't mesh with the other, the culture here. Like I was just
what was the hardest part about the culture here?
That I was an outsider. They just didn't want, and the company was very, very traditional and very LDS.
I got you. Yeah. And that's fair to say.
I'm not, and I've got these other ideas that I want to do. And,
in the moment you said, let's go, get a pint of beer or something,
And they were really offensive to me and used to call me the leprechaun and everything. And it was stuff like that.
And they got away with that.
Well, because they're here and they can get away with it, but it would never fly. Like if someone called me a leprechaun in Boston, straight to HR, and everything sorted out. But here it's not. They all ganged up on me, and it was pretty rough. And so after 6 months, they got rid of me and used the economy as a.
Oh yeah, there's always that other excuse that they use.
I know, but it was. So I went off, and I was like, I tried to do contracting, contract design for other companies, but it was just the same thing, headbutting constantly. So then that's when I started with the 48-hour, and I just really went headlong into film.
So what exactly is it? Describe the 48-hour film festival. When is it and what is it? I mean, I know nothing about it.
Right. Well, the 48-hour film festival it's an international film festival that happens in every major city in the world.
Okay.
The one that I run covers the whole Utah, and it's around about the start of June that we do it. And we do it down at the Broadway there, so it's all independent. I don't really get into the the megaplexes and things like that. I want to keep it down grassroots. And basically, if you want to make a film, it's open to amateurs, families, hobbyists. So
you can just have a cheap video camera if you want to.
Yeah, you can even do it on your phone. All phones shoot HD.
That's true.
And you can even edit it on your phone. Like or if you've got everyone's got a laptop and you've got iMovie or you've got Windows Movie Maker, it's all available to you. And basically, so you sign up and then you turn up on the Friday night and you pick a genre out of the hat. So action, adventure, comedy, drama, Western, musical, cop.
So you don't know what
you don't know anything.
You don't know what genre.
No, you don't know anything. And then I give you a character, a line of dialogue, and a prop. And then you have 48 hours to go off and make your film. Bring it back on the Sunday night, and then we screen them all on the Wednesday, Thursday of the following week.
So what, how many people would submit for that?
Well, I get it. There's about 3,000 people.
Whoa.
That's over the course of normally about 60 teams, 50 to 60 teams that I get. And it's about 3,000 people all in for that.
And that goes on in June, approximately in June.
Mm-hmm.
And then what are some of the other ones? You got the Demon Chaser Film Festival. That's the next one that you got coming up.
Yeah, the Demon Chaser. This will be the fourth year.
Now who started this idea? Was that
it was me? This is all the other. The only festival that I work for somebody is the 48 Hour, and the 48 Hour is great because if you win the festival. It's all the usual, like best actor, best director.
Well, what do you win? What do you win?
Well, you get to go to Cannes and the most prestigious film festival in the world, and you get to go up against all the other winners from all the other cities.
Oh, so it's a really pretty big deal.
Yeah. So 2 years ago, Martin Freeman, who's Bilbo Baggins in the Hobbit films, he won it.
Wow.
So it's a pretty big
deal.
Yeah, and then Penn and Teller, they always enter, the magicians in Vegas. So
the 48 Hour Film Festival. Yeah. Well, the Demon Chaser, though, back to that, that's going to be the Wednesday, October the 16th. It looks like it's going to be at Tower Theater.
Yep.
And so talk a little bit about that, like the people that the films that are going to be there. What can people expect?
Well, you're going to see I've got 26 teams. 26 films that are being entered, so it's going to be across 2 screenings. So you get 13 in each. So it's a bit of a, branding. So it's 13 films in 2013. And of course, 13 is the scariest number.
Or a lucky number.
So the guys, they enter, and then everything is available to the filmmakers to make the best film possible. The problem with the 48 Hours, you've got 48 hours. You can have a power cut. You can end up getting romance. You don't want to make a romance film. So a lot of things can go wrong. But with this, everything is available for you to make the best possible film. So you get to choose your own genre in horror. So it's haunting, creature feature, slasher, splatter, thriller, suspense. The list goes on and on. So you get to choose what you want to do. And then I give you 2 individual elements that will complement your film. So basically, if somebody chooses creature feature, I give them a trapdoor and a flashlight. And these things that sort of can try and help them make a better film. And they have to put that in. Then all the films have to be 6 minutes and 66 seconds long. So it's
nice.
666. And so we watch all the films. Then we do the awards, everything. We've got great audience participation. So if I've got insurance that if you die of fright while watching the films, you get $1,000. So for your next of kin.
But okay. Yeah. Well, has anybody died?
No. There was someone that had a heart attack last year, though.
Seriously?
Yeah, but I do have nurses on hand.
A heart attack just from watching a film?
Well, he just had a heart attack, and I still don't.
Was he old?
No.
Wow. And
but I have nurses on hand, and they're checking people's pulses as they're going in. It's all smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
It's fun because people want to know, and they want the sexy girls to feel their heartbeat and check that they're
the effect
and check that they're well enough to come in. And then I also have Coward's Corner. So if the films are too scary for you, you can get your money back, but you have to stand in Coward's Corner and wait till everybody else leaves so they all know you're too scared. It's all stuff that Hitchcock did back in the days. I'm not really reinventing the wheel here, but it's all in order to get people to come to these festivals. You got to have something else for them. Because a lot of people say, well, why should I pay the $10 to come and see films that I don't know? I don't know who's in. No one's famous in it when I can pay $10 to go and see Batman.
Yeah, but these are all, especially the Demon Chaser. Well, all of them are all Utah people. Yeah,
they're all
so,
Utah,
you're supporting local art, local film.
Yeah, it's just like going to the gallery stroll, see people's photography, see people's art. That's what it is. And I get sold out screenings, and it's wonderful. And it's my favorite one that I do because it's Halloween. Everybody wants to come out. People come, like, if there's a creature feature film and they've got a monster, they come dressed as the monster, and everyone gets photos with the monster.
So people dress up for it as well.
Oh yeah, and we have prizes for best costumes and things like that. And then, so what we're doing, which is special this year, is we're taking all the best films from the past years, and then the winner of this year's one, we're going to be making an old style anthology film. So the old, like, Twilight Zone with Elvira and the Crypt Keeper and things like that. And then we're going to release the film for theatrical distribution to get a bit of extra money for people. And
so what's is that pretty much what the winner, I guess, gets of this?
Yeah, the winner gets the chance to be in the feature, plus they get a trophy and stuff like that.
So what are some of you mentioned you do like a sci-fi film festival as well.
Yep.
When does that go on?
It goes through, because everything's on a 3 month, it's every quarter. So my next one's going to be March, and then...
And that's good. What festival is that in?
Well, that's probably going to, because things are up in the air because with Comic-Con. I'm looking at, I'm probably going to be doing the sci-fi, mixing it with Comic-Con next year.
Because is Comic-Con, I heard is that coming back in January, or is that just a rumor?
I don't know. I can't talk to that.
Yeah.
I've heard rumors, but, so I want to mix, but if I do it with Comic-Con, it'll be for next year, for the next September one. And it's basically exactly the same as the Demon Chaser, but with sci-fi as your genre.
And then what other genres of film festival?
I do an action festival.
An action festival.
And that's in May, just at the start of the summer blockbuster season. So you're making like buddy cop films or, like Rambo, like those types of films. So it's all just genre stuff. But my biggest one is the Demon Chaser, because everybody.
And again, that's the Wednesday, October 16th. I'll put all that information on the show notes for the podcast as well, so people could check that out. So you pretty much are working with Tower and Broadway. Then
Broadway, yeah.
They've been pretty good to work with.
Oh yeah, wonderful.
I mean, Tower is great, because you can go there. Do they still? I haven't been into Tower for a little while. They used to rent movies and stuff there.
Yeah, they've still got the big collection of DVDs and stuff.
What's your favorite genre of film? As just you as an individual, what do you enjoy the most?
Cerebral sci-fi, if that's a real genre. But
what is that?
Like thought-provoking sci-fi.
Okay.
Like I don't like Star Wars and stuff with the spaceships and just lasers, but I like Alien or Blade Runner. That it's more basically makes you think. Things like that, or Solaris. There's a lot of great ones out there, but those are hard to make for where I am now as an independent filmmaker. It's difficult, so I got to give the audience what they want and do low budget horror.
Do you make, like, for the film festivals that you do you make any films and submit them as well, or no?
Because if I did that, then I would just win everything. It's a bit of a double-edged sword, and it's difficult because Utah is such a small community as far as film going, so I know everybody. So when I have industry professionals on the judging side of things, I just preside over them, to make sure that they're following the criteria,
the guidelines, and
but
the
I
criteria.
don't get involved with judging or submitting, because there will always be someone that will complain that they didn't win because they don't know me.
Yeah.
Even though everybody knows me and I know them. It's just such a strange. I've had difficulty in the past with that, so I keep myself.
And talk about the create real change. What that's about. That you mentioned when you came in. Talk about this. What is this all about?
It's just based on personal experience from post-traumatic stress, from conflict, from different conflicts that I've been in. Just using my own creativity to look at different aspects through a narrative storytelling issue. So the easiest way to explain it is if you see a film, if you see a commercial for or a PSA or something about a homeless guy, nobody really cares. But you see a PSA about a homeless cat with a cast on his arm, everybody is all over it and they want to give money. But the homeless cat has got exactly the same story as. So
is it an event then?
No, it's a non-profit.
It's just a non-profit.
And I work with the VA, and I work with residential treatment facilities.
Okay.
And different aspects, and I go in, and over the course of 8 weeks, I sit with people. I'm trying to get in with the prisons systems to do, to help people look at, because if you constantly, and fair play, there's lots to say about medication or the traditional forms of therapy. But they don't all work for people. for everyone. And if you're going to constantly just relive the same issue in your life, you're just constantly in the tornado, it's all like, oh, this happened to me, terrible, terrible, terrible. And what I try to do is say, okay, well, look at this point in your life. So maybe if I'm working with a veteran who had a traumatic event in Afghanistan, how can we look at that emotional stress and change it and turn it into a film about a dog or a film about a bottle of water? It's still exactly the same story, but they're then putting their own emotional state into other inanimate objects, and over the course of 8 weeks, we look at every aspect of filmmaking. So I'm teaching people vocational skills, basic digital arts. So they've got somewhere to go into the workplace, out of the prison system, they go into graphic design, or out of rehab, they have the opportunity to go and work on the help desk because now they can work a computer and stuff like that. So we make the little films, and then we have screenings at the Rose Wagner. So people can experience the film on a pure entertainment point. Going back to the bottle of water, that's a cool film about a bottle of water, and that can be all it means to somebody. But then if the participant comes out afterwards and then has a Q&A and a genuine interaction with the audience, speaking about, well, this is really my story. This is when I was under fire or whatever. This is when I saw a child being killed in front of me. Then it means a whole lot more, and people are more genuine to interact on that side of things.
Absolutely. And you could find out the website. It looks like it's Create Real Change, REEL change.org. Yep. And I'll put the links for that as well on the show notes. Your podcast that you do. Mm-hmm. How long have you been doing a podcast for?
I've been doing it 3 years now.
3 years?
Yeah, I'm on episode 106. I used to do it weekly, but as things change in my life.
Oh yeah, it's tough to keep going. I mean, podcasting is definitely an area I'm familiar with, obviously a little more than films, but to keep that motivation even going with doing it.
Well, it's interesting. Like my passion for my podcast is meeting people, and having the community spirit. So I'm involved with a lot of other podcasters around the world, and so we go to film conventions, horror conventions, and we all meet up. So I've met some of the greatest people that I've ever met through podcasting.
It's a great medium to get your voice out there. Mm-hmm. Did you do any other podcasts before? And this one focuses more on British film.
Yeah,
is
just British film. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Is that the only podcast you've ever done then, or?
Yeah, I guest hosted on other people's podcasts.
Yeah.
And I follow there. Because as far as being a film fan, I love all
types of film.
Yeah. But what I can see in the niche market, because there's so many podcasts that are coming out now. If they're just going to put
ridiculous.
If they're just going to talk about this week's new releases, in the Megaplex, they're up against 10,000 other people, so they can't get a listenership. And if that's what you're doing to try and get 10,000 people listening to you, that's not what I do. I do it because I love doing it and I love meeting people and chatting. So happy days. I've got people that listen to me. But I started back in the days, when it was just
when you were one of the few out there.
Yeah. So and there's not many other podcasts that just specifically talk about my genre of films.
And where can people find? Obviously, I found it on iTunes. It's on
iTunes, and then also the website hamicus.com. So it's HAMMICUS.
So you listen to quite a few podcasts as well. Mostly, do you listen to any other besides film or? Yeah,
I listen to a lot of comedy ones.
A lot of the comedy.
And then a lot of mental health as well. I find that fascinating.
What do you find fascinating about mental health? What?
Well, I really like the recovery process. Mm-hmm. And I love listening to people who've, finally got the message and listen to the darkness, I have to put my hands up and say I've never heard anybody. Because no one goes out and promotes themselves when they're still in there having their issues. They've already recovered and they're, discussing, the darkness and where they were, and the different steps that they took to get better.
If you ever listened to one of my favorites is the Mental Illness Happy Hour. I love that podcast.
Yep.
Paul Gilmartin does a heck of a job with that podcast.
And sometimes I find in my own recovery, depending how well I'm doing, is depending how much I can listen to him.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to get brought down. But then when I feel that I am really in the darkness of my own depression, I just can't get enough of it.
Doesn't it make you feel like you're, like he says, you're not alone, and there's other people that are struggling with the same thing you are, or it makes what you feel like you're struggling with not quite as bad, and so it gives you something to relate with. Yeah.
And I love, he does a great job. And I've chatted to him a couple of times, back and forth on Facebook.
Really? Is he a pretty nice guy to talk to? I mean, chat.
Yeah. I started off talking to him about Create Real Change. And then there's another project that I do called All of Life. And it's just a different way of, if you're feeling depressed, it's going to do you no good just sitting looking at the wall, even if you just open the curtains and see the sun, and it's just giving different options. Like you don't have to be alone, go for a walk, or just like the slightest little thing can turn you around, or listen to a happy song, something, and so that's called All of Life. I work with them a bit. And I initially talked to him to raise awareness about the launch, and see if he would, help me out by sticking it on the podcast, and then just by giving him my own history and things like that, and talking about my sobriety and stuff, and how I find the creativity and how much I really enjoy his show and things like that. So
you mentioned sobriety, so you don't drink beer anymore?
Nope.
Wow.
Yep.
How long have you been sober for?
It'll be 2 years on November 17th.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You've lived here in Salt Lake for a little while. Uh-huh. You got to like something about the city. What are some of your favorite things about living in Salt Lake?
Well, the scenery.
The scenery
is amazing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Just being able to get out into the mountains within 20 minutes. And
do you get out and hike a lot and camp a lot?
Yeah, and I just went down to Moab for the first time ever last week, and it was mind blowing. So I love that. I love the.
So you travel quite a bit as well, right? That's fair to say.
Well, that's the great thing about film is it's an adventure. You get to go all these places, that you would never really get the opportunity to go to. And you're going, because that's the one thing I hate about America is the vacation time you get at work. It's practically non-existent. But because I'm self-employed and I'm in film, I get to go off to all these amazing places.
Travel and so we were talking about favorite things about Salt Lake.
And then I love the counterculture. It was difficult to find my place here. But once I started doing the film and started looking into all the amazing people that are around, of course we've got the predominant religion that is pretty much cookie cutter. I just don't communicate on that side of the fence, and I don't really.
Do you find that the religion has any effect on the film festivals that you do?
Yeah. I get a lot of people. I have a disclaimer that the Demon Chaser is not affiliated with anything satanic, because I've had issues with people.
What kind of issues?
Just that they don't want it. What I'm doing, that I'm celebrating the devil.
But that's what Halloween is.
I know. It's shockingly bad, and but I get a lot of complaints from that side, and I used to worry about that a lot, but the majority of people really love what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. So I focus on those guys now.
Yeah.
So
there's enough people out there that want this type of thing here in Salt Lake, and you got to kind of ignore the rest. The idiots. I call them.
Indeed, and they and they don't have to come. I just say, well, don't come.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. I don't need you to. I don't need your ticket sales. Just leave me alone. And I did have a problem with Larry Miller. A while back.
What kind of problem, if you don't mind me?
Well, my poster for because I did the 48 hour at the Megaplex twice, because I looked at, okay, well, let's see if I can get more people to come. I want the public to know about this, and the Megaplex is where the mindless masses go. So I did it there, and the cost was so prohibitive, but I went ahead with it. But my poster that year was Michelangelo's David and he's holding a film camera, and then across his private parts is the typical black, censorship bar, and it just says "Make history, make art, make history," and that was it. And then I had the poster up, and as soon as I put it up in the marquee, all the complaints of the day, because I was showing, even though it was Michelangelo's David, and they said they wouldn't mind if I had everything on show, but the problem was that I had drawn attention by censoring the thing.
Oh, gosh.
And so I had a lot of trouble, but in the end, I was paying for it. They weren't doing me a favor, and I just fought them on it, tooth and nail, and said, look, I've paid you for the space.
What are your thoughts on censorship?
I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that boat,
the one thing that bothers me the most about like US rating systems is the R rating.
Which could mean anything.
Yeah, it's like you can still go and you can bring your children to it as long as they've got an adult with them. And so these children are seeing like the most terrible, adult orientated material, and people bring them. Whereas back home, the rating system's totally different. You've got U, which is like cartoons and stuff. Then you've got PG, same as here. Then you have 12, 15, and 18. And you have to show ID to get in. No
matter, even if you have an adult with you.
Yeah, you gotta be 18 to see.
Do you think that rating system is better?
I do, because you can't, it's fair play, freedom of speech and everything, but you should not be bringing and of course it's the parents' responsibility.
Well, in Utah, they like to bring babies.
Yeah. And they're crying.
Crying babies. Like, what the heck?
Who knows at what stage in their development? If they're seeing, Freddy Krueger run around chopping people's heads off, like,
true.
Who knows
you make a valid point
what image
there.
is going to be stuck in their head. And people still say, it's only film, but as an adult, I want to experience my entertainment with like-minded people, and I don't want to have to deal with some baby crying or some children running around just because that parent is not being responsible of what their child sees, And I'm not all about like, it was Marilyn Manson's fault that Columbine happened, or that's ridiculous.
You can't blame that.
I know that's ridiculous, but children are still going to have nightmares. You're just because as an adult, like I've got a 3-year-old, and I'm not going to take him to see the horror films.
Well, that's just common sense.
Yeah, but it's. I especially in Utah, I can never understand how seeing the children there, and then they're crying and everything, and the adult, they just let them cry, and it's just ridiculous.
It is pretty ridiculous.
But as far as censorship goes, I don't think that the government should be involved. You can't have this governing body, especially in film. I don't know if you know much about the Film Censorship Board.
I don't. I mean, obviously, I watch films and movies and TV shows. That's about the extent of my film knowledge.
Well, with the MPAA, which is the Movie something Association of America, they're secretive. Nobody knows who's on the board. So if I make a film and then I have to give it to them to say, well, what are you going to rate this? They can just turn around and say, well, I'm going to give it an NC-17 and not tell me why. They'll just say, because of nudity or because of content. But I have no idea who is watching that, who is affecting my livelihood by their own perceptions. So it's just such a strange one. And if anyone's interested, you can watch a great film called This Film Is Not Yet Rated by Kirby Dick. And that goes across the whole.
Probably find that even on Netflix.
Yeah, it's on Instant Watch at the moment. But it's all, there's rumors that, so he hires a private detective to follow people to find out who is actually on the board. And it's all just housewives,
I'm going to have to watch that.
And they're not you want to be, if you are going to be censored or criticized, you want to be criticized by your peers, by someone who knows what they're talking about, not Mrs. Housewife that's going to church every week and is annoyed because you said fuck in your thing, and then stamping you with a NC-17, which will genuinely affect my livelihood because then I can't release the film. And
then that, making money and feeding your family and all of that.
So it's a lot easier now that I can release stuff. I can stream it. There's so much more to distribution. I don't need the traditional forms of the film. I don't need a studio. I'm sitting in my room and I can make whatever I want and put it out there. Yeah. So. Do
you get involved at all with Sundance during Sundance time, or do you
I'm as far as being a film fan and a participant, I go as to
watch them.
Yeah, because I've got on the other side, I have a distribution company that I'm hoping to find the hidden gem that I can then buy and then release it under my own thing. Because I don't know if people know how the festival circuit works. Is so if you yourself make a film, if you decide to make a documentary, like a film version of your podcast, then you are going to go and enter it into lots of festivals. And by you going to the festivals, there's a lot of film distributors and everyone else that's there to watch your film. And that's how you're showcasing it to people. And then they will then offer you, take it from you. you know, and they'll either buy it straight out, you know, say, well, we'll give you $100,000, and then we own the film. We
can do whatever we want with it, pretty much.
But you've got your $100,000.
And I'm happy. Yeah. Heck yeah.
Or they'll say, okay, well, we'll give you $20,000, but then you're responsible to doing it, and we're still going to take 80% and stuff like that. So that's how the film festival circuit works. And I go as a participant to watch, hoping that I'm gonna. But it's hard because Sundance is a difficult kettle of fish because it's so prestigious now, and I just don't have the money to be even
to be there.
Trying to. Well, I've got the money to be there, but I've got no money to sit and try and get into a bidding war with the Weinsteins.
With some of the bigger names.
Yeah, so like the smaller festivals. And so I'll find, mostly I'll work in shorts. So if you've got a short, and most independent filmmakers have put all their money into making that film, and then they don't even have the money to go to support their film in the festival. Because most festivals is like $100 to enter. Just, here's my film, here's $100, hoping that someone's going to watch it and then screen it. So what I do is if I find stuff that I genuinely believe in the content or the story or the message, then I will take it from them and then I will promote it, like be a sales rep type thing. Because I'm going to be at the festival anyway, and then I can, you know, answer questions. And things like that, so.
What about another question I ask everybody that comes on the show is favorite eating spots. Do you have any like local restaurants or cafes or dining spots that Brian would recommend?
Yeah, well, I'll give you a few. So everyone loves Crown Burger.
Yeah,
can't beat Crown Burger. I love
delicious burgers.
Yeah, I love Sapa, the little sushi.
Great,
restaurant.
Yeah, good sushi. Yeah,
on 7th and State. There's a great little Thai place that I went to. It's called the Tea Rose Diner, and it's just down the back street in Murray, around about like 47th.
But it was just
State.
Delicious Thai food.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah. And I'd always walk by, and it's just in someone's house. Basically, they just renovated a house, and I always wondered how does this place even exist? But
it does.
The proof is in the pudding, so to speak, you know. And I like Rich's Diner because I do like to support local rather than I hate.
Oh, well, that's what this podcast is all about, man. And that's why I ask, you know, for the recommendations for people to get out from that normal, you know, Chili's and Denny's and all that garbage and try something new.
Yeah, it's amazing with Chili's and Applebee's and stuff like that.
It's just disgusting.
They're always so full of people. It's always so packed, but it's always so dead inside.
Yeah.
You know, the atmosphere. But Rich's Diner, I would say, would be my.
And where is that located?
Number one. It's just opposite the Broadway.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I know where you're talking. I know where you're talking about now. I know where you're talking about now.
So it's not like a nice atmosphere in there and very retro and stuff, and they do.
Do you ever hit up any of the food trucks downtown at all? Have you ever had the opportunity to try any of those?
I haven't.
Okay. I'm just a big fan of them, and so I
do mean too. It's just every time I find it's never.
Well, it's hard to keep up. Yeah, hard to keep up with all of them. So, anyways, what's the best place again? The Demon Chaser Film Festival, Wednesday, October 16th, Tower Theater. How can people? Is there a website people can go to find all of this?
If you go to filmulate.com, FILMULATE. So it's basically like Imaginate, Create, Filmulate, and that's where all my stuff is. So at the moment, it's just developing the horror stuff for the Demon Chaser, and then when it's time for the sci-fi one, what
about Facebook? People connect?
Find out they've all got their individual pages. So
all the festivals do.
Yep.
If you get a chance to email me links of those so I can get those on the show notes, that would be fantastic. Anything else that you want to add that we didn't get to chatting about? I think we got the film festivals. You know, how can people get involved? Can they help at all? I mean, do you accept volunteers?
Yeah, I need volunteers on the day for ushers and things like that. If you want to come on down, and you get free tickets to get to see the films. And we also have a great magician there, Elias Caress. He's going to be there doing some magic for us, and
at the Demon Chaser.
We'll be doing. He does seances. He lives in an old 18th century brothel downtown.
He personally does.
Yeah. And it's not a brothel anymore, but back in the days it was, and he does.
Well, I was hoping it was a brothel still. Might have to go down there after we're done recording.
Yeah, well, might be able to let you use his beautiful assistants. But he does seances in the brothel and stuff like that. So like the old style stuff. But yeah, if you want to get involved, just let me know. Just send me a message on Facebook. It's the easiest way to get a hold of me, and we can certainly work. And
do you care if I link your personal Facebook with this, Brian Higgins, so that way people can get in touch with you?
Yeah, it's all about, if you look at my Facebook page, it's just all about film anyway.
Yeah,
film and comedy.
Some people with Facebook, it's like, just friends and family. But what I'm trying to hope with this podcast is just a giant networking. Mm-hmm. We all work together. I mean, we all live in Salt Lake here. We all call this city home. Why don't we all help each other out and get involved? And even if you don't have any knowledge of film, why not explore some new interests?
Yeah, it's just another medium for art.
Yeah,
this is just as good as going to the gallery stroll. To support that. It's wonderful, and you're going to see. Maybe you'll see the next Spielberg. I get a lot of kids doing this, like 14-year-old kids.
Yeah, that must be awesome. That must be awesome, just meeting those people.
Yeah, it's wonderful for me to sort of be like a mentor to these
I could
guys.
Imagine.
I would, with me growing up, I would have loved to have had somebody like me to bring me along, to help me out back in the days. But it's just wonderful to give back, and it is about building community.
Very important. Very important.
But I'd like to say there's a little place called the Organ Loft on 33rd and State. And
another eating place.
No, it's an original silent movie theater.
Oh, wow. We'll talk about this.
They've got the Wurlitzer and everything in there. And it's been in the Guy's family since it was started. And they play old silent movies like Charlie Chaplin or Buster Keaton.
Really?
They've got all the silent ones for the horror. And the guy sits and he plays the Wurlitzer. And they've sort of opened up all the walls. So they're all glass, so you can see all the pipes. There's something like 4,000 pipes that go on in there, and
are they showing movies year round there?
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, not every night. It's like usually every Thursday, Friday that they do. And it's like $6 to get in, and it's like a really nice old theater, and it's just one of those like lost things that just don't exist anymore. But this one does, and it's a shame because they have a great following, a great audience in the older generation. Because they're coming for their nostalgia. And they do dances as well, because they got to have, other outlets. But it's just a wonderful place. And that's the Salt Lake Organ Loft.
Okay, yeah. And I'll try to, man, that sounds like a great place to take a date, something different,
Yeah, and the guy that runs it is so nice, and it's just such a lovely old building. And it used to be like a chicken shed when his like great-great-grandfather bought it and then just developed it into this silent movie theater. So.
I want to give a big thank you to Brian Higgins for coming on this episode of the podcast. Hopefully you guys enjoyed listening to that. Hopefully you guys get involved with some of his future film projects that he's doing. You go check out the Demon Chaser Film Challenge going on this upcoming Wednesday at Tower Theater. Again, you can find all of the show notes right there online, iamsaltlake.com/109. A few ways you can support the show. You can find that on the website as well. Just hit that support button and you can find out how to keep this show alive and keep it moving forward. I want to thank everybody that has supported the show, whether that's an iTunes review, sharing your favorite episode online with your family and friends, or donating a small donation. That is much appreciated as well. Really quickly, I'm going to end the show with a voicemail from listener Stephen Givens. He's doing a really great benefit here in Salt Lake City coming up on November 2nd. I'm going to let him tell you all about it. And that's going to do it for this episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, Utah. We're playing video games to raise money for Primary Children's Medical Center. To help save lives, we will be live streaming our gameplay for 25 hours straight, starting on November 2nd at 8 a.m. We need Utah's help raising money and spreading the word. So please visit www.extra-life.org/participant/Steve Gives to sign up, and you can be a hero too.